Nine o'clock here on your Tuesday, February 21st. Thanks for being with us as we recap what happened in the courtroom today in the Alec Murdaugh double murder trial. The disgraced attorney accused of shooting and killing his wife Maggie and son Paul in June of 2021. Now, after we go over today's testimony, we're going to be joined by criminal defense attorney Lori Murray for her take on the latest developments in the courtroom. On the witness stand today, Buster Murdaugh. He testified that his family all talked to each other multiple times a day on the phone, telling the jury how he learned that his mother and brother Paul had been killed. Take a listen.
And he called me on the phone. He asked me if I was sitting down, and I was like, yeah. And then he, sounded odd, and then he told me that my mom and brother had been shot.
And when you got there, did you see your dad?
Yes, sir.
What kind of condition was he in? What was his demeanor?
Yeah, his demeanor was, he was destroyed. He was heartbroken. I walked in the door and saw him and gave him a hug and just broken down.
Could he speak?
Not really.
Was he crying?
Yes, sir.
Under cross-examination, Buster Murdaugh testified that he first learned about his father's financial difficulties following that roadside shooting incident in September of 2021. He was also asked about that boating accident involving his brother and how it was affecting the family.
You went to Wofford?
I did go to
The boating accident that Mr. Griffin asked you about, that was pressure on the family, wasn't it?
I don't know that pressure's the right word. I mean, it's definitely an uneasy feeling. Your brother is criminally charged, and then you, myself, and my father have civil charges. I mean, definitely unsettling.
I mean, it caused stress within the family, didn't it?
It was stressful. I wouldn't say within the family, because we supported each other.
Sure.
And following Buster Murdaugh's testimony, Mike Sutton took the stand. He is a forensic engineer who works in accident reconstruction. He analyzed bullet holes on different structures at the Murdaugh property to determine where shots were fired and from what angle. Sutton testified that his analysis suggests a much shorter shooter than Alec Murdaugh.
That's correct.
Can you say to a degree of engineering certainty, more probably than not, that whoever shot this shot, or these shots, well, first of all, the quail pen shot was 5'2" to 5'4"?
That is the most likely explanation, yes.
Okay. And we know that Alec is 6'4".
Yes.
Sutton also testified that someone at the main house with the TV on would not have heard gunshots near the dog kennels. He was also asked about the headlights of Murdaugh's vehicle when he arrived at the kennels and called 911. Sutton says that the area where Maggie and Paul's bodies were found would have been illuminated. During cross-examination, prosecutors questioned Sutton's qualifications.
The bullet's coming in at 41 degrees, kind of from the right, so that represents where the tip of the bullet first touched the cardboard or the fiberboard.
Do you, and I think you already testified this, but you have no formal training or experience or certifications in crime scene investigations, is that correct?
I've answered that. It all comes from experience and my education.
And are you aware that there's a margin of error for the angles that may be measured in a projectile, especially if it's a soft paper product?
Sure. There can be, and also depends on how you measure it.
And we are being joined now by criminal defense attorney Lori Murray. I want to thank her for coming in this evening. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
For those of you who follow her on TikTok, thank you very much. You got close to 500,000 followers, right?
Almost.
Yeah.
463,000.
Increasing because of this Murdaugh trial?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what happened today. Buster Murdaugh on the stand today,
Right.
A character witness more or less for his father, not unexpected by the defense, right?
No, I think that we knew he was going to testify. What was unexpected to me was that he actually testified first, because you want to start with something strong and then end with something strong. And so now I'm kind of wondering what they're going to end with. Is it going to be Alec's testimony? So I don't know. It wasn't a surprise that he was going to testify, but it was a surprise that he testified first.
And you say Alec's testimony. Do you think Murdaugh needs to take the stand in his own defense?
I thought that he needed to take the stand until they put the OnStar evidence in. And then once they put the OnStar evidence in, I thought there's no way he could take the stand. There's too much damning information that they can cross-examine him with. So the more that the defense puts in, it kind of puts him a little bit more on an even keel. And now I'm back to, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. It's his decision ultimately.
The defense with two witnesses today, I believe. Mike Sutton was the other one, the forensic
Right.
expert that they put on the stand, basically saying that somebody really short committed these murders, not not Alec Murdaugh, who's 6'4", but somebody who's like 5'2" or 5'3".
Yeah,
How do you think
pretty
that's-
short.
Yeah, I mean, but again, what do you make of that testimony, and is it going to be something that sticks with the jury?
Well, you know, a lot of people on my social media were saying they just didn't buy it because it was 5'2", and I said, listen, if you don't believe there are 5'2" men out there, go to my dating apps. There are plenty of 5'2" men out there. But, you know, I think that what he did, all of the evidence that he put in today was scientifically backed, and it was testing that you normally see in these true crime, you know, documentaries. Everybody does that trajectory. The sled didn't do it. So I think his testimony was valid and based on some scientific evidence. And you have to, if it's 5'2" is what it comes out to, 5'2", 5'4", then that's what it comes out to.
We discussed this last night here on this program, the angle of the shot that they're trying to say. I think the defense was trying to hint around that maybe perhaps, again, somebody else did the killings, obviously, but at one point I thought they were hinting around that this could have been like a murder-suicide or something.
I thought they were too, because it sounded to me like Dick Harpootlian was trying to make it to where the gunshot was coming from the other direction for Paul, going from the top down. But I think that we just misunderstood the direction that he was going.
Well, since you're new to the program, I thought we would just throw some things out that the prosecution did last week and get you to weigh in on some of that.
Okay.
The prosecution with that evidence, the minute-by-minute tracking of Alec Murdaugh's vehicle the night of the murders, how damaging is that to the defense?
Well, they tried to do a little bit of remediation today with their expert on that. But last week was a very good day for the prosecution. The timing of his car being where Maggie's phone was, speeding up, the 20 seconds, that's huge. And by that I'm referring to the fact that he was at the kennels for 20 seconds before he called 911. That was just everything that day. Everything that came in with the OnStar was a big testimony for the state. And really, it's so interesting to me because, you know, they didn't have that evidence. That evidence came in late.
Right.
And imagine if they didn't have it, we would have a totally different trial right now if they didn't have that evidence.
You're a criminal defense attorney. How do you handle this, though, when it's your turn to address this to the jury? Do you say, well, that's his vehicle? Or do you say, yeah, that's him in the vehicle going to his parents' house? Okay, the times are off here. This doesn't make sense.
Well, I think they've done the only thing they can do, which is to bring in another expert that says no. And the expert today tried to do this, you know, with the location as to where he was with regard to Maggie's phone. So I think the only thing they can do is just to bring in another expert to counteract what their expert is saying. Otherwise, you ignore it, you hide it, you bring something else up, you know, hey, look over here at this shiny object, and just put something else out there like how bad a job SLED did on this case, because it was not a great job that SLED did on this case.
As you know, outside the jury's presence last week, the defense basically talking about that dog kennel video, basically saying, okay, you've proven he was at the dog kennels when he said he wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the jury will be able for them to decide whether or not they believe the witness is saying it was his voice on this dog kennel video that we're listening to now. And your opinion, how damaging is this piece of video?
This is the most damning piece of evidence that they have. I called this the big lie from the very beginning, because this is what proved that Alec Murdaugh's alibi was false. This is the one piece of evidence that puts him where the murders happened within minutes of the time of death. So no matter how you look at this tape, it actually destroys his alibi. And I think in his opening statement, his attorney, Dick Harpootlian, actually said, yeah, he might have lied about his alibi. The problem with that is that his attorney, Jim Griffin, got on a national documentary and said, this is his alibi. He was asleep at the house.
Right.
And then you have this dog video that puts him at the location of the murders within minutes of it.
And so many people have testified. Yep, that's Alec Murdaugh. I know the voice. Been around him all my life. Been around him X number of years. I'd recognize that voice anywhere. So, okay, so that's that. The Snapchat video with the change of clothes. That probably won't be as hard for the defense, will it? Because, I mean, there he is the morning of, but then the evening, it's conceivable he could have changed clothes because, I mean, he is outside in the yard right now doing some work there.
It is conceivable, and you know they had Buster testify today that when he got outside that he liked to shower a lot. If you know, it is hot. We're in the South. It's the middle of June, so yeah, he testified that he changed clothes a lot because he got hot and he got sweaty. He was a big guy. The problem that they're coming in with this is that where are those clothes? Nobody knows where those clothes are, and you know if it was me and I was the defense attorney, I would be saying, well, hey, you asked for them or mentioned them 3 months later. I've got clothes all over the place. He didn't go back to Moselle after that night. So there is a way to get around it, but they're focusing on the fact that he didn't turn them in, and then the state or the defense is saying you didn't ask for them. So I don't know who wins that battle.